Hello, welcome to RC Video Reviews on Friday, May 12th. It has been a couple weeks since we got together. Last time we had some conflicts and I had work to do and had a flying event the next day, so we just couldn't get a pilot jam in last week. So sorry about any confusion, but we definitely had to skip to tonight, but we're back, 5/12. And also, just for the record, right off front, I want to get it out of the way right away. There will be no pilot jam next weekend either because we are going to be at Joe Nall. If I do a pilot jam, it would be on Saturday. So we are going to be Joe Nall. We're leaving Thursday. We're going to spend the day there Friday, and we will be coming back sometime Friday late. So maybe Saturday. Keep an eye out on the channel. If I can get enough material together for one, then we'll work on it. Otherwise, we're going to be skipping next week. So let's plan on skipping. And if we manage to squeak one in, yay for us. So anyway, that's the situation on the pilot jam. I'm going to ask you guys for an audio check real quick. And while we do that, I'm going to get on with the first game and see who got in first. Let's see. It looks like a new one. Little one-on-one got in. Hello, hello. He was first. Photios from Greece is here. How you doing? Bill, always the bridesmaid, never the bride, my friend. Lion Days, hello from Cuba. How are you? John Operman, looking forward to listening to the pilot jam tomorrow. Enjoy the live chat. Freddie D, how's it going? He's the one that started all the confusion. Thought this week was a no-go. No, you missed it, dude. Let's see. Four Eyes was wondering the same. So Fred C, you start stuff. This is how rumors get started, Fred. Anyway, pilot jam is definitely on. Let's see. Bill was here. He got the reading comprehension test. He got an A. Stephen Cristofero is here. How you doing, Stephen? Good to see you. Glenn 4452. Hello from New Orleans, Louisiana. How you doing? The David Knutson in the house from Texas. David, hello. Robert is here from Canada, representing the great, probably melting north right now. Hopefully they're getting warm up there. Defender Mods, how you doing? Mr. Skyrider, Keith, how's it going? And William Tam is here. Hello. Let's see. Zeb, hello from CN, China. How about that? Everyone from all over the place. Jeff H is here from Down Under. Jeff, how you doing? And Cameron Dasso is here. Hello. MS Aviation is here. Hello. Sounds great. Awesome. I like to hear that. Audio's good. FL Engineer from Florida is here. And Jeff H can hear me all the way down in Australia. Good. That's the hellos. I'll remind you guys, if you check in, say hello in the comments so we know you're here. And we have, as you can imagine, a great deal to cover. So get yourself a drink, put your feet up. We're going to be here for a while. I got a lot of material to cover. And mostly good stuff. I think you guys are going to enjoy the session tonight. I have a lot of material planned. So let's just get into it. We'll start out with a recap on the week in review. And of course, because, we had a week off, not a week off. It was a week without a pilot jam. Let's put it that way. I ended up doing 15 different short videos. I got to tell you guys, 95, says Robert, in Canada. Wow. That's warm. I think it's warmer there than it is here. It's 84 here. Anyway, 15 different shorts videos. And, in case you're wondering about the shorts, the only thing I can say is that YouTube speaks and I listen. I get, it's really weird how shorts work, but man, I get a lot of subscribers and a lot of views on shorts. I don't make a damn bit of money, a few nickels, but boy, they seem to drive the views and the subscribers, which is why I do it. So, hopefully you like the shorts, and I've been trying to use them in coordination with the larger production videos. So that's why I do that. Anyway, 15 shorts, that's a lot in the 2-week period. Freddie also taught me a little trick where I can remix prior videos. So I did one, and a couple of guys fell for it. I did the heli crash. That was like 2 years ago, year and a half ago, when Freddie crashed his 520, his XLP 520 or 550, whatever that thing was. And everyone's like, oh, you crashed another one? So yeah, that was a remix. Gotcha. But got some views, got some subs out of it, so it's all good. Anyway, next up was the Top Gun video. And boy, I'll tell you what, man, YouTube spoke on that. That thing's got like 16,000 views or something. I mean, it racked up like it. I'll put it this way. The Top Gun video had the fastest launch to like 6,000 views of any video I've ever done. I couldn't believe it. It's an event video, so that's another one of these deals where YouTube is kind of telling me what to do. Apparently, y'all respond to event videos, so that's when when I saw that happen, I'm like, well, we got to go to Joe Nall now. So Freddie and I signed up for the road trip. We're going to be heading to Joe Nall next weekend. So right about now, 24 or a week from now, not 24 hours from now, a week from now, Fred and I will be somewhere between Joe Nall and my house. But yeah, we're going next weekend. So the Top Gun video, boy, you guys really responded to that one. And then next up was the Raptor first look. I was surprised that one didn't get a little more traction. The F-22 Raptor, man, it's a cool looking plane. I haven't done the military warbird jet kind of deal for a while. The last one I did, I think, was the BAE Hawk. But I got it. Oh, and the X-Fly Alpha, that was a sponsored video. But boy, the F-22 is a really, really cool looking plane when it's done. I actually put a couple pictures in Discord on that one. It's cool looking, man. I like it. And it looks like a big wing. It's going to be, it looks like it's going to fly like a wing. So I can't wait to fly that. It's going to be fast. We'll get the maiden done on that when we can. But of course, next weekend is a no-go. This weekend, I've got family stuff. I can't fly this weekend. So next weekend will be a no-go to Joe Nall. So man, I'm kind of queuing up on the maidens, but we'll get it done. It's going to happen. So just be on the lookout. And the one thing we'll get into, I'm going to talk about the Raptor later in a little bit more detail, but that was the next video. And Dave actually came over and hosted that one, so we had a good time together making that one. Then the Laser Maiden, boy, did that generated some views too. That plane is cursed, man. I had RSSI problems. I had a prop spin loose, and the prop nut obviously was on tight enough initially because I made a few laps and a few takeoffs and landings, and then during like the third flight it came loose. But that's what maiden videos are about. And then on top of the prop issue where I had to dead stick the plane in, and I was really kind of freaking out. You probably heard it in my voice, like, damn it, another one. And I got it on the ground, went over and checked it out. Everything was okay, no damage. So thankfully, a good dead stick landing. And then after that, we found out that the prop nut came loose. So we got that tightened down. And then we went up and got some RSSI issues. So kind of tinkered with the antenna placement a little bit on the radio, not on the receiver. We'll talk about that too. But tinkered with that a little bit, and it was good enough to fly. However, I will tell you that receiver's already out of the plane. I'm not going to monkey around with that plane. If I don't get acceptable performance, it's gone. So we will talk about that tonight. I've got some material on that. So hang tight for that. You want to stick around for this stuff because it's important. And I just have things I'm going to explain. So then the next up was the benchtop power supply. I got to tell you, if you didn't watch that video, you should. $60. A couple of guys came in and said, well, that USB voltage is out of spec, but here's the deal. Number one, I've never calibrated that voltage meter, and it is a cheap little voltage meter. So for all I know, it could be 5 volts. I don't know. In fairness, I probably should find a way to measure that before I show it on a video. So that's bad on me. And I'll try and find a way to correct that. Maybe I'll look for a way to test it. That's what I really need to do, is figure out if there's a way to calibrate it and test it. And if it's not calibrated, I'll let you all know. But at the end of the day, here's what I want to say. Fine, it should be 5 volts. I agree. That's a spec. It's 5 volts. That's what it should produce. But what I'll say is that none of the devices I plugged in, including radios, iPads, iPhones, none of it had a problem charging at that rate. So the other weird thing, and one guy did call it out. He's the one that I was like, okay, that's thinking. And that's that the iPad did not draw enough amperage. So the iPad should be able to pull pretty hard. And I only saw like 0.7 amps or something. Maybe it was because the iPad was already charged. I'm not sure. I kind of need to do a little bit more testing. But with all that said, the main reason I use that is for doing things like powering or connecting the radio on the desk. It's just another power supply to charge stuff. So it seems to work okay on that front. And then all the voltage checks I did worked out. And so far, really happy with that purchase. So under $60, it proved out at 290 watts, I think. So I got 10 amps out of it at 24 volts. So I'm happy with it. I think for a bench power supply, really useful to be able to go from 1 volt to 30 and have a constant current capability where you can limit your current if you want to. I like it. The only thing I don't like compared to the P200, which is what it replaced, is it's a lot bigger. The P200 was tiny and compact, and I really like that on the bench, but it just didn't have enough oomph when I wanted to do things like charge the 6-cell batteries at 5 amps. It just struggled with that. So anyway, that was a replacement, and I'm still happy that I got that. And then next up was the video on the FMS Flash. We're going to be talking about that. That was another sponsored video, first look. And we will be talking about that one because in the video, I had a little bit of a problem getting that reflex to talk to the computer, and I did get it sorted out. I had to talk with FMS about it, but I have an answer, And we'll talk a little bit about that. And then that obviously next up was the pilot jam, and that's tonight. So a whole bunch of short videos and a lot of good content over the last week and a half. So hopefully you guys are keeping up on the channel and keeping in touch with what's going on. And before we jump into the next subject, I think I will check the comments and then we'll get moving. So let's see. Freddie D, that's an old video. Dave, was that heli basically the whole tail section? Yeah, that was a heli crash. Steven is on the like whip tonight. He says, don't forget to smash that like button, but only do it once. Don't listen to Fred. Fred does it twice or 4 times. So don't listen to Fred. Just do it once or 3 times or 5 times. That's cool. But do it an odd number of times. If you don't mind, definitely hit the smash the like button. I appreciate that. Let's see. Robert, so you're saying that's the original divot machine. Yep, that was the original divot machine, Robert. Yeah, I got you. Robert, you're the one I got. You fell for it. David Canute says, happy Mother's Day weekend. Yeah, happy Mother's Day. That's right. To any moms out there, happy Mother's Day. Don't forget to do something nice for your wife. Freddie posted a little thing in Discord. I wish I could post the image up on the screen, but I don't want to get into trouble. But his image in Discord was something along the lines of, Hey, fellas, don't forget it's Mother's Day weekend, so remind your wife to do all her cleaning and laundry on Saturday so she can enjoy her special day on Sunday. Freddie's savage like that. He rolls like that. I shared that with my wife, and she said she doesn't like me, and she definitely does not like my friends. So, yeah, how about that? Let's see. Hopefully you don't put flowers on the fridge again. Okay. Don't put flowers on the fridge again. I'm going to leave that alone. Live from Joe Nall. Yeah, we might do a little bit of live streaming from Joe Nall. That might be fun. All right, let's see. Cameron Drummond Stewart, good evening, pilots. Glad you can make it. Skyworks 360, where you from? I'm in Florida, so it's a little bit of a drive up to Joe Nall, but it'll be worth it. Robert says, it looks like I think it didn't get the traction because it's been out already. I think the flight video will do really good. Your multimeter will test it for you, John, the USB. Yeah, I don't know, man. I got to find a way to get, I don't want to stick probes in there. I'm not game for that. I don't have like a USB breakout for the wire, so I'll have to think about it. Need to find a way to measure that. Maybe we can get on Discord and talk about it. Jeff H is back. H-Speed Jeff, how you doing? Glad to see you. Is he back home from Phoenix yet? Not yet. We've seen 7 or 8 fires up here. Okay, chit-chat. All right, so that's it for the comments. That means we can get rolling. Let's get rolling into some content. I've got some content. Okay, Top Gun 2023. I'll tell you what, guys, man, Top Gun 2023. The only thing I can say about that, and that video is playing right there. That's the Top Gun video. That was a little twin-engine gasser that went up. I was really impressed with the quality of the aircraft. Some of the models, man, the amount of money these guys put into it was impressive. And the event itself was it seemed, I don't want to mischaracterize it because honestly, I didn't like go and read the rules, but the way I understood it was that all the pilots flying had to do like certain things. They had to do a scale takeoff, a certain scale maneuver, they had to fly in a scale manner and then do like a scale landing. So it wasn't like one of these, 3D freestyle type events. These guys were trying to make these planes kind of look, I think, like the real counterpart would in the sky. So it was very cool. It was a lot of fun. If you're in the neighborhood, I would highly recommend trying to make time to go to Top Gun if you get a chance. In Lakeland, it's every year, and it's a great facility. They have a great runway. The people were very friendly, very easygoing event, very, very polite, and a lot of fun to watch. I don't know if it'd be my shtick to get into that. That guy almost tip stalled that thing. When he landed that, I was like, ooh, I saw it coming. But yeah, I don't know if it's my thing to get into an event like that. I don't know. Maybe sometime. But it was fun to watch. And they had these are the EDF classes. That's what you're watching now. So they had the EDF classes. They had the Masters class. Some of those planes were really impressive looking. They had a Corsair there that was a gasser that really made an impression on me. I wasn't a huge fan of the color scheme on that one, but I love the airplane, and I certainly like the engine. I mean, I had respect for the finish on the plane, but it was brown, and personally, I would have probably chosen different colors. But, your money, your hobby, do your thing. And as long as he's happy with it, that's all that really matters. So it was a lot of fun. And then you could see the EDFs. There was an A-10 that had a little bit of a problem getting on the ground. And then I forget what model this is. A Sabre, maybe. I don't think that's a Super Sabre. Thunder Chief, I don't know what that thing is. But he had a problem, a little bit of a bounce. But it was cool watching, man. Those guys were pretty good. It was a lot of fun to watch. The jets are really, the bigger jets are really impressive. I'll tell you that. A couple of the real big scale jets, boy, can't even imagine. They must have upwards of 20 grand in some of those things, which to me is kind of a foreign concept. But we had a good time. It was fun. Tim was there. Fred was there. We had a good time hanging out. So if you guys can make it, Lakeland, Florida, keep an eye on your calendar. Maybe plan for it. So let's see. Was it a glider? Was it a jet? Who cares? It was cool. Yeah. We posted a short on a glider that had a turbine on it, and we called it a powered glider. And a couple of wiseacres came in and said, oh, so you mean a plane? Well, actually, smart butts, it's called a motor glider. We went and looked it up. It's called a motor glider if it uses a glider to get up. By the way, I'll also have you know, I did the DLG event, which was a competition, the discus launch glider. And some of those DLGs, discus launch gliders, also had motors on them, yet they were still referred to as gliders. So some people just like to nitpick stuff, and honestly, I don't care for it. I just don't care for that kind of thing. So I try and just leave that alone. But in any event, there was a motor glider. It had a motor, but you know, the reason I think that you can still call it a glider is because it's capable of soaring without using power as well, which is what qualifies it as a glider. At least that's the definition that I found. But since I'm not a glider type, I don't try and speak authoritatively on it. I had to go look it up after the fact. But boy, a lot of guys tried to bust our chops about that. That's for sure. Freddie did too. He posted a powered glider, jet powered glider, and they busted his chops about it too on his channel. So yeah. Do they still run TOC in the US? I'm not sure what TOC is, Jeff. Help me out with that one. And with that said, I'm going to move on to the next thing. So let's see. That was Top Gun. Okay, yeah. So Top Gun, I said what I had to say about that. If you get a chance, go. It was a lot of fun. Okay, the MPM site. All right, this is going to be probably a production video, but I'm going to give you guys a preview on this one. And the reason I'm going to give you the preview on it is because I think there's good material in here. I'm not going to do as much detail with you guys on this video as I'm going to do in the production video, but I'll give you a first look at it and you'll know what it's about when you see it. And there's my little live stream hanging out in the window. There we go. So this video, and the reason I'm going to do this is because the level of comments that I get, man, it just sometimes gets a little ridiculous how many comments I get or how many questions I get on the MPM. And I think it's mainly because people don't know where to go for information. So they find somebody talking about it, they're like, hey, what do I do here? So I will post this URL. I did not put it in the description ahead of time, but I will post the URL in the description of the video so you guys have it. But you want to bookmark this. It's multi-module.org. And the reason I say that is because, you know, whenever I get a question about the multi-module that I don't know off the top of my head, this is where I go. And, you know, at the end of the day, the information that you need about the multi-module is here. So, for example, let's take a look at supported protocols. This is one of the most requested bits of information I get. Hey, dude, is my protocol supported? Can I fly Futaba? Can I fly FHSS? Can I fly FreeSky X? Can I fly FreeSky D? And not only do they ask those questions, but another one I get is FreeSky D supported for frequency fine tuning? So let me show you this. If you go look at the supported protocols page and then you click on FreeSky D, right at the top, look at all the details you get. It tells you whether or not the MPM supports telemetry, whether or not it supports fail-safe. That's a huge question. Fail-safe? I get this question so many times, it's insane. How come I can't set fail-safe on my multi-protocol module? Well, because it's protocol dependent. So all you have to do is you got to bookmark this site and you can learn a lot about the multi-protocol module and the protocols that you're running on it. So is fail-safe supported? No, it's not. Does it support extended limits? Yes. Does it support auto-bind? Does it support remapping, channel remapping? So all that information is here. All you've got to do is look, and they even give a little bit of additional information about how you access these protocols, because I've had this one too. I've had people say, I can't find D16, because they go on the protocol list and they look for D16, not FreeSky. So the way you get to D16 and D8 is you load up FreeSky and it's sub-protocol D16 or D8, okay? So here it is. In fact, it even spells it out. FreeSky protocol has sub-protocols for the V receivers, FreeSky X, D16, and FCC and EU LBT modes. So all the information you need is here. You just got to know where to go to look for it. So supported protocols are listed, and they list all of them in alphabetical order. So you can go and look and see what is supported, what's not supported. They show under protocol options what all these different things mean. So if you need to gain an understanding about what channel remapping is, that's spelled out right here. It explains what channel remapping is. It talks a little bit about the binding procedures for auto binding versus manual binding. It spells out the fact that manual binding is normally hobby grade. Auto binding is normally like toy mode, toy grade protocols. It gives a little bit of information about frequency fine tuning. This is another huge question that I get all the time. How come I can't frequency fine tune my receiver? Because these are the only receiver protocols that support frequency fine tuning. And here's where I get this stuff. So I go out and I'll say things like, hey, you only need to do fine tuning one time. And once you find the value, you can reuse that value. And here's where I get that. This is the guy who wrote the code, right? This guy wrote the code. It's Pascal. He wrote the code and he said, you only have to do it once per protocol, as there's usually a small variance between the values found on multiple receivers of the same type. So once you know the value, you can use it for all receivers which use that protocol. That's where I get this stuff. I don't make it up. I get it from a source. And if I don't know, then I'll either say I don't know or I'll use a source. So anyway, I just wanted to share this with you to give you an idea of where you can get documentation on the multi-protocol module, because it's one of those things that if you're not coming from, if you're not with the multi-protocol module, if you're not haven't been using it for a while, or you're not familiar with it, if it's new to you, it can be challenging for people. Like they ask a lot of questions about, the multi-protocol module and, how does this work? How does that work? So point is, got to know where to look for the information. I think once you know where to look for it, then it can be very useful. Websites like that can be very useful, helping you understand it. And that's all I do. If I don't know, I just go to the website and look. And by the way, I try and always go to the source too. All right, so that's that. Do I still sit in a rocking chair or a glide? Do I sit in a rocking chair or a glider? I don't know. Yeah, hey, that's a good question. Does it glide, right? I think if it glides fore and aft, it's a glider. Or if it tilts, it rocks. Tournament of Champions, says Jeff. I don't know. Do you guys still run TOC in the US? I've never heard of it, Jeff, so I don't know. Tournament of Champions. Maybe you can tell me about it in Discord. Little one-on-one. Haha. Yep. There was a reading comprehension problem and probably a posting issue. So yeah, we were definitely always on for the 12th little one-on-one. Jeff H says, Tournament of Champions used to be held in Vegas and attracted the best RC aerobatic pilots from around the world. Yeah, I've never heard of it. It's the first time I've ever heard of it. Interesting. All right, let's move on. That was it for the MPM site. Remember, that will be a production video. I just wanted to give you guys a preview of what's coming. And obviously in the production video, it'll be a little more refined. This is kind of ad hoc, but I wanted to give you guys a look at it because, why not? This is where the cool kids hang out. You may as well get a little preview of what's going, right? Speaking of a little preview, I want to take a moment first to thank my patrons and remind you guys, if you like what you find on RC Video Reviews and you want to help the channel out, you can go to patreon.com/RC Video Reviews, and I have a $3 a month tier. So if you want to help out, you can contribute $3 a month, and it helps me bring more material to the channel. It helps me do things and bring more to the channel. If you don't feel like making donations and you want something, material out of the deal, I went in my t-shirt store, which I haven't updated in quite a while, and I added some new stuff. So check this out. I have a I'd Rather Be Flying phone case. This is my iPhone. This is my iPhone 13 Pro Max. So all kinds of different iPhone options for the case. So you can order one of these. And other thing I wanted to show you, one new design I just did. I made crew shirts for Freddie and Dave and I think I'm going to go, sorry, I just bumped the microphone. I know that sucks. I think I'll probably make these regular, available for everybody. I'll probably put this design up soon on the t-shirt store. So this one says, go fly something. You know how I end the videos? I say, hey, get out there and fly something. So I'll probably put that out. But I also made crew shirts. I have one for Fred. So Fred's got one and Dave's got one. So if we do events, we can wear the crew shirts to the events. And I thought you guys might get a kick out of that. But I just wanted to remind you, I do have a merch store, and they just allowed recently. I don't know how recently. I got to be honest with you. I just saw it. It's new to me. I'll leave it at that. So it turns out you can link your merch store to your videos. So I did that, and now my merchandise store stuff should show up below all my videos. So if you want a t-shirt from RC Video Reviews, I got some cool stuff out there. The one thing I tell you about buying these t-shirts, go one size large. They run a little bit small, so go one size larger than what you think you need, and you'll be happy with it. I can tell you that I always wear like an XL shirt, and this is a 2XL, and it fits great. So just go one size large on your shirts. Okay. So merchandise, yay for merch. And you know, it's just one of those deals that helps the channel. So if you guys are interested in helping and you want something for your money, something tangible, you can go get some merchandise. I just wanted to share that with you. All right, let's see. So that's it for that. I'm going to check comments, and then we'll keep cruising. We'll keep cruising. We have a lot to cover tonight. All right, let's see. Good day from Australia. This is Henry A. Another Aussie in the house. Nice to meet you, Henry. Let's see. Little One-on-One says, what do you think about the Flipper Zero and possibilities in the hobby? Flipper Zero. Not sure about that, man. I don't know what that is. Flipper Zero. You have to give me a link. Showing my age via TOC. Yeah, I guess so, man. I'm not familiar with it. I've never heard of it. Cameron Dasso says, instead of saying that these are the protocols that support frequency fine-tuning, I would say these are the protocols that need. Well, yeah, you know, that's an interesting question, Cameron. So it's an interesting question, because the way I understand frequency fine-tuning is this, that when the manufacturer of a protocol and a receiver and a transmitter specifies the requirements, they can say, we want the receiver to be tuned on this very specific frequency, right? And now with the multi-protocol module, because there are so many different manufacturers of some of these protocols, I think the idea is that they don't know exactly what those frequencies are. And there's probably some variation in the chips that provide the frequencies. So that's why they offer it. So I would say the way they characterize it is that if it is offered, then it is supported and you should do it. That's the way I read it. And that's kind of what I stick to. So frequency fine tuning, if you see it as an option, you should do it. That's the way they put it. Let's see. Head Fog. Hey man, how's it going? Good to see you. Midlife Chaos. TOC is gone when Bill Bennett passed and went with, oh, okay. Well, good to know. Hey, good to know. Robert, yes, I got in early. Hi, Robert. Robert hit $10. Thanks for hitting the tip jar, Robert. I appreciate you for the great content. Man, you're all right. I don't care what Freddie says about you, Robert. I like you. I know you give Precious a hard way to go, but that's okay. I'm all right. Precious is tough. She's thick-skinned. She can take it. FD says, damn it, hard to keep my eyes open. It's 3 a.m. My mom is going to get up very pissed if she finds out I'm still up. Oops, sorry to hear that. Denny Roberts says, hi, John. Well, hi, Denny. And Cameron Dasso says, pretty good answer. Well, I appreciate that, Cameron. Thanks. Yeah, if it's there, you should do it, right? That's what they say. Okay, that's it for that stuff. So where were we? MPM side. Okay, we can move on. Antenna placement. Oh, the antenna placement. I got to show you guys the antenna placement thing. So that one, I think, is right here. We're going to hide the Q&A. Got that. And we're not doing Q&A right now. We're doing antenna placement. This is what I wanted to show you, because when I did the laser video, a lot of guys came back and said, hey man, you got that wing tube there, and they're not wrong. It was there. But this, if you look, and I can't really point in this particular image arrangement, but if you look in the middle area down in the white section below that orange quick release, you can see the second active element from the S6R. That thing is basically down there aiming down. I know it doesn't kind of look that way in the image, but trust me, it is aiming down. And it's basically in about as open air space as you can get. I do realize there are a couple stringers there. I do realize that they may attenuate the signal some. But the point of the matter is that active element was very clear of the battery. It was down below the carbon fiber tray. Of course, with the plane being up in the air, that puts that active element in a good spot. The only real thing in the way was one little stringer and some shrink covering. Otherwise, that thing was in open air. So the antenna placement on this plane was okay. I wasn't concerned with it. And I'll also, the other reminder I want to give people is that this is not the only airplane that I have with a very similar mechanical arrangement, right? I've got 8 of these things. They all have the same amount of carbon fiber. This is the only time I've ever had that kind of problem. So I believe that the issue resides with that particular receiver. And on that note, I've already been talking to Dave about potentially building an RSSI test rig. So I have some ideas. I'm thinking about it. I'm kicking it around because honestly, this is an S6R. I've used these receivers for a lot of years, and I've never seen one in any, even including a sloppy antenna arrangement, report 49 on the RSSI meter so close like I had that laser. Never. These are tried and tested receivers, in my opinion. Personally, I just think this one's not in great shape. I've had a lot of these for a lot of years. These are in a stash. I keep them, stored together. It's just possible this one went south. So that's my answer on that one. And in any event, that receiver's been removed. So I did want to show you guys, because there were so many questions about antenna placement on this one. I did want to show you the second antenna, which by the way is also in the plane that I use. And when I say plane, I'm talking about horizontal vertical plane on how I orient my ground-based antenna. So this antenna should always be my primary because this has the same orientation as my ground-based antenna. The other one that points straight up, that one is 90 degrees out of phase. So as it is pushed down by the canopy, it actually pushes it more in line, at least straight and level, for my antenna orientation. So I know there are a lot of questions about that one, but I just wanted to show you guys that I don't believe for one second this was an antenna orientation or an obstruction issue. I think it was a hardware issue. So that's all. I'm going to leave it at that. We're going to move on. And I'll check comments too. Let's see. Robert says, I'm with you 100% on antenna placement wasn't the problem. No, I don't think so, Robert. And I almost want to do I almost want to build a test rig where I actually bring in a carbon fiber tube and put an active element in there and see if it makes a difference. And the other thing I want to tell you guys too, just so you know, this is no lie, no word of a lie. I was doing some testing on RSSI with the radio, and I put an Express LRS receiver. I was trying to attenuate my signal with Express LRS. I put it in a steel pot, a steel freaking pot with the lid on it, BEC and everything. I put it in a pot. I put the lid on it, and it didn't attenuate enough. I put it in the dishwasher. It's got a stainless steel front on the dishwasher, and the dishwasher is metal. I closed the door, and I still couldn't attenuate the damn signal. That's why I don't believe it had anything to do with that little bit of carbon fiber that's in the way, and why I'm thinking about building a test rig, because evidently a lot of people believe, probably for good reason. I don't challenge people's life experience. If you saw it, then you know. But I'm kind of interested in putting a test rig together where I can do things like stuff an active element inside a carbon fiber tube and go fly and see what the difference is between an active element that's in a tube and one that's out of a tube. So I'm kind of interested in that. And I've been talking to Dave about that. We may work that out. So hang tight. If there's interest in that type of testing, leave a comment in the video after the video post and let me know. Okay. Let me know. If you guys are interested in that one, I might pursue that kind of work. Otherwise, got to be honest with you. Let's see. How about that? What a great segue. I think the answer for me starts to become, let's just focus on Express LRS. To be honest with you, I'm just thinking Express LRS. Mr. Skyrider says, I've had an S8R go wicked bad, so they do kick the bucket. Yeah, I know. They do kick the bucket. MS Aviation says, have you heard the Trevor Jacob could be facing jail for his crash? I saw something about that on Discord. That he crashed a plane for views. Yeah, I heard that's not great, right? I heard about that. I did hear about that. See, I watch Discord. Okay, new Express LRS PWM RX. Now, I always have to caveat this by saying, I try and keep up with things, but I'm not always 100% sure when everything gets out. But I did want to show you guys something that I found. I ordered a couple of these. I guess I could put a link in the description, although I really don't want to, because every time I do, you guys go and buy them out, and then I can't get any more for 3 weeks. But this is a Happy model. What is this thing? It's a Happy model Express LRS PWM 6-channel. Of course. Is that upside down? No, it's not upside down. I guess it's It's 2.4 gigahertz Express LRM PWS receiver. So here's what I like about this. What I like about this is now we're starting to get somewhere, although in traditional format, in the Express LRS world, they make you solder stuff on. I really don't know why they can't just do this on their own. I've already got one of these in, this is, what airplane is this? This is in the Flash, I believe. There's an Express LRS. I have a couple of them. So there it is. There's the happy model. That looks a lot like the Maytech P6. It's the Maytech R24 P6. That's the PWM6. Here's what I like about this one and why I got a couple of these. First off, they've got VBAT, so voltage sense, one pin. And I'm going to give you guys a pro tip. For the longest time, whenever I did VBAT using any receiver that provided VBAT, and I'm going to give credit to FlySky for this. FlySky is the one that turned me on to this. It was kind of like one of those, you ever have the V8 moment? So it turns out what I used to do is I'd take a wire from the VBAT pin. Let's just for argument's sake say that's the VBAT pin. I would take a wire from that and I'd run it into my mains on a positive side. And I'd run it under my XT60 or XT90 adapter and right into the mains. And that works. The problem is I always set it up as a permanent solution. Well, here's the thing. I got to get a wire out. Hang tight. This is the one that really kind of made me feel stupid, because FlySky with their voltage sensors, this is what they did. They have a wire coming off their voltage sensor, and the wire, and it just so happens I had a stash of these things. And by the way, this is a female single pin servo connector on one side and a male connector on the other side. So it's male to female. So check this out. If this is your VBAT pin on your receiver, this is a pro tip. You guys are only going to get this on a Pilot Jam. I'm not doing a video on this, but check that out. You put that guy right there on your VBAT pin, just like that. That's all you do. And then on your battery, you simply connect it to, if you want to measure one cell, you'd put it, this is a 3-cell battery. So if you want to measure one cell, you put the male pin right there, and that gives you 1 cell of measurement. If you put the pin right there, that gives you 2 cells of measurement. And if you put the pin right there, it gives you 3 cells of measurement. And I feel like such an idiot, because that's such an easy way to do a VBAT connection to your batteries. And if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. It's not permanent. You can easily change it out. So if you decide to move things around, that's fine. And the other real benefit that I have is that because I was putting mine in the mains on this side, every time I unplugged, I'm worried about yanking the wire free or breaking it or twisting it or whatever. This is such a simple, brain dead, easy solution. And again, I give FlySky credit for this because it was their voltage sensor that got me thinking about it. And the only caveat is that you have to have ground from this battery somehow connected to this receiver. Obviously, if this is supplying the BEC on your ESC, the ground counts, because you'll take ground from your ESC, BEC, plug it into channel 3 or whatever you use for throttle. That's good enough. That provides the ground loop to come back. And this is all you need to do. One single wire. If you put it on the second pin on your balance lead, there's the second. And we're looking at the second pin from ground. So notice this balance lead is red, and some of them are different. Like some of them have lots of colors. The last one should always be red. So in my case, they use black wires, and the last one here is red. So I'm going over to the opposite side. So this one, that would be nothing. That's just ground. That'd be ground to ground. I don't even think you'd want to do that. And then this would just be the positive lead. And if you have a ground connection to this receiver, then you have now completed the circuit, and you'll measure something like 4.2 to 3.6 volts. If you want to see 8.4, or you can do that. And if you want to see 12.6, you would do that. So nifty little solution. That's a pro tip for you guys. I can't believe that's what I said. It's kind of one of those V8 moments. Like, I feel like such an idiot for not figuring that out sooner. I really do. Kind of annoyed with myself about that. Anyway, these little happy model receivers, they also include 2 different antennas. So they're UFL connectors. You get a long antenna and a short antenna. So you'll always have some extras depending on your use case. And then they just pop on there. They also have a boot button. So you can press the button down if you want to go into the bootloader mode. and everything else is just as usual. And here's the good news. The default target for this supports S-Bus. So what's cool about this little receiver, what I love about this little receiver, is that I can plug S-Bus in channel 2 and run S-Bus out to a gyro. And then I can use the rest of the PWM channels for things like landing gear, flaps, things that you wouldn't want to run through a gyro. So this is a very, very nice companion for a Hobby Eagle A3 Super 4 or any other gyro for that matter, because you do have some pins that you can run to an ESC for PWM output to an ESC, and you can run S-Bus into your gyro. So that is the arrangement that I put on the little FMS Flash. I'll show you that in just a few minutes. We'll get to that. But these are $13.99 in Express LRS. So all I can say is that's a win in my book, man. I like that one a lot. The only thing I think, what I'd like to see him do is stop making me solder these things on. Just put them on the damn board. And then how about what's wrong with enclosing this in a plastic case, or at least providing some shrink wrap? And they don't do that. That's the only downside, no shrink wrap. So I kind of recommend that. I wouldn't leave this floating around. You want to put some shrink wrap on there. And minimally, I also strongly advise you to put shrink wrap on here to hold that UFL connector on, which is what I did on the FMS. I just put some shrink wrap on this side of the board, and that holds that antenna on there nice and flat. It won't come off. And it gives me something where I can stick my Velcro on the bottom. So anyway, that's that Happy model. This is a Happy model R20. This is by the way, this one is a temperature compensated oscillator. So temperature compensated oscillator circuit. And there you go. So you got that one. All right. So is anyone not making any covers? I don't know. I don't know how old these are. I only just found them. When I found them, I ordered some. So I only just spotted these. I was unaware of these until a few days ago. Anyway, these little ribbons you get on Amazon, they're so dirt cheap. In fact, I think on mine, these were thrown in with some other thing that I bought. I bought some other electronic gizmo and they threw these in. So I've got a stack of them, but it's easy to find these on Amazon. They're probably jumper test leads or something to that effect is what you'd probably call those. Anyway, there's the pro tip and the look at the Happy model. That is going in the little Banshee, or not the Banshee. What am I talking about? The Flash. That's going in the Flash. All right, I'm going to check comments and then we'll move on. Let's see. Going the wrong way. Let's see. When ELRS have more than 9, 15, 866 devices, more features, then I'll look more into it. I'm liking Crossfire. Okay. Your money, your hobby. I used to think that way about 915 too, but man, these 2.4 gig receivers, they're known to go 25 miles away. So, if you've got video gear that can go 25 miles, more power to you. Let's see. Rabbit hole. That's how I've been doing. Going the wrong way. That 915 is going to be dead horse. I agree. I think that's going to go away. MS Aviation says dinner time. Have a good night. Well, enjoy your meal. Seeing that I've seen 2.4 is too noisy, and I've seen it get JMed many times, folks have lost their crap. Okay. That's, you got to have respect for practical analysis. I don't mind that. 915, 860 are going to be at life's end in the ELRs pretty soon. Interesting. 10-year-old receivers that are still working. 4eyes, yeah, I do too. I've got receivers that are still working fine. It's just one that went bad, that's all. Is anyone making any covers? I think we covered that. Or a 3D printed cover for the Happy model. I might make one. I made one for the Maytech, so it probably wouldn't be that hard to make one for this. Let's see. Wouter Vandenbroek. Greeting from Holland. Love your work. You're my go-to for everything Radio Master, Edge, Express, LRS, et cetera, et cetera. Thank you. Well, how about that? That's an endorsement. Well, thank you. Thanks for joining the live stream. Glad to have you. Okay. That's it on the Express LRS stuff. Okay, F-22 and M4. Yeah, updates. Okay, so F-22. All I can tell you is the F-20. I posted pictures. It's done, ready to go. And that one, that is also... You know what? I misspoke. It's the F-22 that got the Express LRS. That's the one that got the Express LRS and the A3 Super 4. The Flash, sorry, this is too many builds at once. The Flash got a FlySky IA6B PWM receiver running S-Bus into the Reflex V2. That's, sorry, my mistake. Anyway, the thing about the F-22, all I can say about that plane, everything on it went together perfectly, but there was one problem, and that's one of the aileron servos was DOA. It was dead on arrival. And that's kind of sad to me. It kind of makes me wonder, from a QA perspective, what's missing? Because I powered, when I got to that point in the assembly, for those who like to bust your chops about not building foam planes, when I got to that point in the assembly and I turned everything on, I moved the elevator, worked, rudders both worked, aileron or flaps both worked, ailerons only one. I thought, I missed a wire or something. It wasn't that. Bad aileron servo. Now, I'm sure Motion RC would have honored the warranty. I don't question Motion. But, I just didn't want to fool around with it. I just found them on Amazon and ordered them. But here's the other beef that I have. In the wing on the bottom, they use a proprietary mounting mechanism, which is good, perfectly good for their servos. And I don't like that. Meaning, if you buy their servo, you're fine. If you buy any other 17-gram servo, you're going to be in there hacking plastic apart. And that kind of aggravates me. I don't like it when manufacturers do that. I understand, maybe it's a game to drive people to buy your replacements. I don't know, but I don't really care either. If it calls for a 17-gram servo, I should be able to fit a 17-gram servo. And it's just one of those areas in the hobby that kind of makes me nuts. We have no standardization on things like motor sizes or C ratings on batteries or servo sizes. When we say mini, micro, there's a lot of things that there's some gravitational pull, like they're close, within a millimeter or two. But it's just one of these deals. There's no standardization. It makes me nuts. But in any event, what I would say on airframes is airframes should be able to accept universally accepted hardware. So if you say it's a 17-gram servo, I should be able to put just about any 17-gram servo in there without having to hack plastic apart for a half an hour. And that's the one thing about the F-22 that made me a little nuts. I had to go in and carve out the stupid little plastic receptacle. I almost thought about taking the damn thing out and gluing the servo in and being done with it. So all I can say is that I'm not real happy with Freewing about that. And that said, the servo's replaced. I hacked the hell out of their plastic. It's all chopped up, but my servo's in there and it's going to stay. And if I break it again, for whatever reason it breaks, I'll replace it with another one just like that. So my request to manufacturers, is there any way to standardize on some of this stuff, like cross mounts and servo sizes? I mean, what's the problem here? This should be about making our lives easier, not just about making profit. Because here's the deal. You make our lives easier, guess what you make? You make more profit, because we're going to recommend, man, this is a great airplane because, and more people are going to be involved and invested in it. So that'd be my request, is let's standardize, man. Can we please just standardize, for Pete's sake? Okay. Enough of the rail on the F-22. The F-22 is done. It's ready to fly. It's repaired. We're good to go. And the M4, the thing about the M4, I'll cop to it now. I did some testing. I screwed up. I put it down. It broke. It didn't break anything, but it bent my tail rotor. So the tail rotor feathering shaft, that's why you haven't seen the video. I actually took it to the field last weekend when I did the laser video, and I put it into a hover. I had too much shimmy. I couldn't fly it. I couldn't do a video on it. So the feathering shaft is definitely bent. I need to replace it. I'm waiting for spares. So that's where we are on the M4. Thought you guys might be interested in that, because some people have been asking. I'm dying to fly it. Well, what I can tell you is that after the repair, I did actually put it up into a hover and fly it a little bit, and it's ready. It just needs, I got to fix the feathering shaft and probably the main rotor feathering shaft, and I'll be okay. So a little bit of an issue, but no big deal. I'll overcome that. But that's the update on the M4 and the F-22. The F-22, I cannot wait to fly. That plane looks ridiculously cool. All right, let's see. Checking for comments. Robert says he totally agrees. Yeah, totally agrees. For his world we live in. Yep. Yeah. The standardization, man. We got to get it worked out. Wooter says, hey guys, nice to catch live stream for a change. 2:15 in the AM this part of the world. Sounds like he's taking off, which is cool. Ripped your feathering shaft. Got to buy 5 of each. Yeah, I know. I normally, and a lot of times when they send demo unit, they'll actually send spares with it, but I didn't get any this time, so unfortunately. But that's what's causing the delay on the M4. I really need to get that feathering shaft before I try and do a video. So that's the deal. All right, let's see. Joe Nall, that's next up. So it turns out at Joe Nall, we're going to be leaving Thursday. We're spending the night Thursday nearby, and then we're going to get up Friday. And I'm going to, we're going to be posting videos. We're going to do live stream, maybe some live stream videos. We'll see. We'll definitely be doing some shorts videos. So keep an eye out for shorts. And of course, there will be production videos after the fact. So I'm excited. This is the first time I've ever gone to Joe Nall. And my understanding is our good friend Oliver will be there. I think he left for Joe Nall today. So we're looking to hook up with Oliver. Maybe we'll get a chance to film him doing some flying, which I think will be awesome. He's a great pilot, young man, really strong stick skills. And I'm looking forward to it. I think we'll have a good time. I'm looking forward to seeing the event for myself. I know that so many people go to this thing. It's just crazy. It's a big event, and I'm seriously looking forward to it. And Freddie will be along for the ride. Maybe we'll even do some stuff on the road. Who knows? Maybe we'll do a little couple short videos on the way. We'll see what happens. But keep an eye out, and I'll tell you guys, I told you at the start of the video, YouTube informs behavior, and based on what I saw with that Top Gun video, with the amount of hits that thing got, YouTube is telling me you guys like event videos. So I'm gonna do more of those. And we're keeping an eye out, believe me, on the calendar for more events. So Joe Nall is going to be like the granddaddy. 4i says how long we're staying. We're only staying Friday. So we're going up Thursday. We'll spend a night Thursday night before we get up to Joe Nall. And then Friday morning, we'll get up really early, get over there and watch the event, do the filming, catch some video. And then we'll head out of there at some point Friday afternoon, Friday evening. It's kind of whenever we get tired of watching. That's how that works for us. So be on the lookout. I expect to have a lot of fun material from Joe Nall, and you guys will probably see a lot of short videos coming out. So that's what that's all about, short videos of Joe Nall. So I'm just warning you ahead of time. That's what's going on. Okay. All right. I'm going to check comments real quick, and then we're going to move on. Think the M4 came out in somewhat of a rush. I know because I got the Chinese platform may have affected what you get to receive. And by the way, OMP battery is probably on the way too. Yeah. I'm hoping the spares hit soon. I know I got mine a little bit ahead of schedule because they were not even close to being available by the time I got mine. So yeah, my fault. I just made a mistake, and it wasn't a bad crash, but it was just enough to annoy you. The feathering shaft bent. Annoyed. Helis are not allowed. Helis are going to be there. 4Is. They are going to be there. We're going to be checking things out in the heli line too, but there's allegedly going to be a heli line. That's what I understand. Okay. The flash, let's bring the flash into the equation here. And let's see, I have room on the desk for it. I wanted to give you guys just a quick little look at the flash. So the flash is already ready to go. There we go. I just wanted to zoom out a little bit so you get a better look at the plane. This thing, the plane probably took me, I put the props in here to keep them together so when I go to the field, I don't forget. This probably took me an hour maybe, and that included radio programming to put this together. And what I wanted to show you on this one is that is a FlySky IA6B, and I've got a voltage sensor right there, that little box of voltage sensor. I wanted to show you guys the antenna placement so we can get this we can get this resolved ahead of time. There's one antenna pointing straight up outside the canopy, and then the other antenna is right here on the side. I haven't taped it in yet, but I probably will. I'm going to make sure that's where I want it. But so you can see that's one active element going straight aft, and it's well clear of the battery, and there's no carbon fiber. The only thing in the way are the two devices. I've got the reflex and I've got the receiver. So I'm trying to park the active element somewhere in between the two, but it's well clear of everything without, barring sticking it on the outside of the airframe, which I really don't want to do. This one does protrude out of the outside of the airframe, and you can see that is straight up and down. So there's a 90 degree, there's 90, and there's 90. So there's antenna placement on the flash. And the reason I'm sharing that with you is because this one's a fast mover, and I'm using a different receiver than what I normally fly with. That's an IA6B. Maybe the big camera would be helpful, John. How about that? That's better, isn't it? See a little better that way, right? Okay, so that's the antenna placement again. That's the vertical. That's the one facing aft. Well clear of the battery. I think this should be fine. And the other thing I wanted to point out was that you can actually fit a full-size receiver in this plane, no problem. It was actually no big deal to fit that in. Plenty of room for the battery to come out. And that's set up. Now, I mentioned that I was going to talk a little bit about the reflex. Here's the deal on the reflex. When I did the first look video, I plugged the reflex in and I got a USB error and it wasn't recognized by the software. And I spent a little bit of time monkeying around with it on the live stream, trying to figure it out. And then I finally gave up. And two guys, I think one or two guys, one guy came in, he goes, hey, it says something about powering it up first, maybe connect the battery. And it turns out that was the problem. So oddly enough, in order to connect to the reflex and have it show up on the computer, the PC, you have to connect your BEC power to it first, power it via battery, then plug it into USB, and then it pops up on the screen. The problem I have with this, and I already have talked to FMS about it, and I told them, hey, if you look at your own installation video, it shows that reflex operating with only a USB cable. So if you look at their own video, it shows it working with just a USB, no BEC connection into it. So I told them that, and they said, okay, we'll take a look at that. Thanks for pointing it out. That said, and that out of the way, the next thing I wanted to tell you about this was I kind of half expected to be able to get in here and do some configuration work. But the way FMS arranges their gyro, the Reflex V2, is it is specific to airframes. So they provide model files that you download, you connect it, and then you open the app and you can download any of the profiles for the planes that they sell. So FMS planes, and then you can load it into the gyro. That software has no ability to do things like reverse your servo, reverse the gyro direction, set the gains. All of that is set. In fact, you can't even change the order of modes. So in my arrangement, I'm just going to set the airplane aside because we're done with that. In my arrangement, I always use, always for everything, I always go least aggressive down to most aggressive up. Okay. So for example, if I only want a 3-position switch for a device that I'm using for flight control, say a gyro, then off is least invasive, right? And that's the same with my rates. So I do low rates. So when I have my switches down, that's when everything's the most sedate. Even on my helicopters, my idle ups, that's idle up 1, that's idle up 2, and that's idle up 3. So my philosophy, and there's no right or wrong here. This is the way I do it. If you don't like that, that's fine. You're happy and you know, you can do it whichever way makes you happy. This is my philosophical approach to radio management, right? I want things to be sedate when they're down and aggressive when they're up. And the way I think I came up with that is when I used to drive a Corvette and I wanted crazy, I'd push on that gas pedal. I'd mash that gas pedal. And when I did that, things got nuts. That's the way I think about my airplane and my radio. So my idle up, my rates, this is low rates, mid rates, high rates. And then gyro, this is gyro off. So sedate, the gyro is not involved at all, to wind rejection mode. And if you say one comment about wind rejection, I will cut it. No comments about wind rejection. I will delete it. That's wind rejection mode. And then that is stabilized mode. And that means auto level. Same thing goes if I have a GPS. If I have a GPS, I would say that's gyro off. That's attitude mode. That's return to home mode. See, most aggressive. That's the way I do things. It's the way I like it. That's just the way I like it. So anyway, the thing about it is on the reflex, you don't have the ability to change that order. So if you want to have your gyro off when you're in the down position, you have to do a channel override. And I'm going to show that to you right now. So I'll show you how I manage it. And you can do this with any gyro. It doesn't matter. I swear if one person says it's not wind rejection mode, I'm just going to, it's probably a good thing I moved my mouth away from the microphone to zoom in. Okay. So here we go. We're going to scroll down and there it is. So if you look at this, I had to get my pointer. Shut up. Don't judge me. All right. So there's SC. That's SC up. That impacts channel 5. By the way, on the Reflex V2, it is channel 5, which it is the case with so many stabilizers on the market. They're all the same way. So in this case, when this is in the up position, I have override 100. Probably don't need that one. I could probably get away with that. These are the two that look to be backwards. So when I have SC in the middle position, I override with a value of -100. So that tells me that when I'm in the middle position, that is the wind rejection mode, and the V2 wants to see a value of -100. And then when I'm in the SC down position, instead of being -100, it overrides it with 0. This one you could actually take out. You wouldn't need this one because when SC is up, you're already at 100. So you technically wouldn't need this one. I just put it in there for completeness, I guess. So there you go. There's the settings for the Reflex V2 on EdgeTX. And when you do that, the way that works, when SC is down, you have gyro off. When SC is middle, you have wind rejection mode. And when you have the stick all the way up, or SC all the way up, you have stabilize mode. Okay? Okay. That's that. Wanted to show you guys what was going on with the FMS and the Reflex. Outside of the ability to load different plane profiles, that's it. There is no other configuration. There's nothing else to do. You can't set the gain. You can't set the mode values. You can't set anything. It just does it for you. And the other obvious issue with that scenario is that you're limited to using FMS planes, or you have to set your plane up to behave like an FMS plane. And the biggest issue I have with that is that it means that you can't, like if your aileron servos on your plane are wrong, then you're going to have to go through every one of their profiles and you may or may not find one that works. So what I'm suggesting here is it appears to me that the Reflex V2, the Reflex gyro, is for FMS planes only. That's what I'm suggesting. Maybe you can get it to work on something else, but I didn't see any way to configure any of the parameters for that gyro in the software that they provide. So I'm aware of the DLL, and I did see some people getting in and looking at the DLL and maybe making some modifications to the file itself, but that goes beyond what I'm willing to cover when I have the ability to just pick up something like an A3 Super 4 for the same price. You know, it's just not even something I would entertain. That's my answer there. Okay, let's check the comments and then we'll get moving. The Flash looks a lot like the sword. Yeah, that's what I said, Robert. It looks like that Hobby King sword. That's actually discontinued now too. And 4i says it looks cool. Yeah, I think it's going to be cool, man. It's slippery. I can tell you that. It's this real slippery airframe. It is definitely going to haul the mail. There's no doubt about that. Fred says my switches are opposite. Well, that's fine, Freddie. Yeah, no problem. You think motorcycle throttle. So yeah, you crank down, you want the gas. Yeah, I get it. Wind response mode, man. I'll tell you, man, people, there are some real ball breakers out there, you know. Wind rejection mode, I like that. I think it's a good phrase. And I had one guy come in and go, well, it's actually turbulence. Whatever, dude. Yeah, I can pull my rescue faster than push. Well, I'm not going to talk about how fast you can pull, Fred. We'll just leave that alone. Jeff says setting up the reflex modes is a great example of the power of EdgeTX. Yeah, special functions, no doubt. No doubt, Jeff. Yeah, you have absolute control. You have absolute control. All you have to understand is what pulse width does the thing need to see. And you can verify, you know, you sit and look at this and say, okay, here's the output, here's the input. And, you know, it looks kind of like it's bouncing around. But the reality is, right now with it down, we're at 100. And when we're in the middle, we're at 0. And when we're at the top, we're at -100. So, but the outputs obviously are a little bit different. You can see what the mixer sees down here, but the outputs are reversed, right? They change. So there you go. Yeah, it's very cool. Very cool stuff to be able to do that. Drone Pilot, how you doing, man? Elias, good to see you, my friend. How we all doing? Well, I'm doing well. Hope you're doing well. Okay, that's it on the Flash. So that's coming up, man. That's going to be, I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be fun. We might even put Freddie on a buddy box for that one at some point. He indicated an interest in maybe flying that one around. So we might buddy box Fred on that one, especially if we can get Dave and Fred at the field together again. Okay. Let's see, we're going to go back to the blackboard and we'll put the antenna away and we're going to bring up some Q&A. Got some Q&A for you guys tonight. So regarding Q&A, what this one is this, if you've never been here for this segment, I look at questions and comments in the YouTube comments and I try and find things that might have some broad-based appeal for a lot of people. And I like to cover them so we can share the answers with each other. So the first one, RC Rotor Freak. This was a good question. I love this one because this was in relation to the problem I had with the Reflex V2 not showing up as a USB device. And by the way, on that matter, that's another one that I would give to the manufacturers. I don't agree that we should need external power in order for a USB configurable device to show up in the computer. It should be sufficient because so many of the devices I use, gyros and otherwise, are just fine with 5 volts and a half an amp to an amp. So to me, there's just really no reason that we should have to do things like use or add a battery. I just disagree with that fundamentally. So RC Rotor Freak comes in, he goes, what I do, I love this because this is the kind of crap that I go through. He says, I get the device ID, click on device drivers. This can work on any devices, for example, sound, right click on the property, select device detail, look for hardware IDs, right click and copy and paste on Google search for any favorite search engine. So what he's doing is trying to help me figure out why the heck we're not, why we have a failed device descriptor in my device manager. So, he's on the mark. He's showing me a pretty cool technique that he uses to help figure out, what drivers you might need. So first off, thanks for posting. Second, we should never have to go through this in 2023. I'm sorry. Device manufacturers, you got to figure this stuff out. When we plug our USB cables into our computers in this day and age, stop making it a project for us, right? It just should work. So I appreciate the comment, but hopefully it's not something we should have to go through. And like I said, the problem resolved itself once I applied external power. When I applied external power, it just worked. So again, not in the instruction video. I looked, I watched, wasn't there. And so a little disappointed in that behavior, but thanks for the comment, RC Rotor Freak. And by the way, if you ever need to figure out why your USB device doesn't work, come back to this comment. There's a good tip in there on getting the device descriptor and then searching for it. All right, next up was Fishman Puffer. He said, my Spectrum radio does not have a no pulse set for failsafe. What do I do to fix the failsafe RTH? And he's talking about Copilot. So the first thing, my first response here is, I think you guys have been around are going to know, I don't do Spectrum, so I don't know. The second response that I would have would be, remember that MPM document website that we looked at earlier in the session? Go bring it up and see if there's any offering there. And then third, I would say go read the manual for Spectrum, because I'm sorry, it's not that I'm trying to be a wise guy, but I just don't own Spectrum, so I can't offer any practical advice on Spectrum. I just don't own the first piece of Spectrum equipment. So you may as well ask me, forget it. I'm not going to go there. That just gives fodder to Fred and Robert. So I'm going to leave it alone. Let's see. Four Eyes says Icon. Hey, Elias, where's Hobie? Hobie's on a boat. I think he's delivering a boat. He's in the middle of the ocean somewhere. Damn straight, John. It should just work. Yeah, man. Why should we have to find device drivers? I mean, we're consumers. We're not. Ask the developers. They don't think we were that bright. So why should we have to go find drivers for stuff, man? And at worst case, if it does need a driver, include it in your software, right? Include it in the archive so we can just click on it and install it. Just saying, it's just a beef, right? It's just a complaint. I'm venting a little. Can you tell? Okay, let's see. What's next? That was Fishman Puffer. I don't know where that name came from, but all right. Matto PRC says, I just ordered a 67-inch Skywing Edge PMP. Good choice, man. Nice plane. I use a thing. It's an AR whatever thing. The normal one, okay, with AS whatever that means and 2 antennas. Are there any signal reception problems with the carbon fuselage? See, a lot of people are concerned about this carbon, man. I would say we'll pause there and forget about the receiver because that's immaterial. Wi-Fi is Wi-Fi. Different protocols use different strategies for signal hopping and maybe some different power levels. But, at the end of the day, signal is signal and, RF physics are RF physics. So I would say, especially after doing a 67-inch laser, right, where I had signal problems, it's kind of talking out the side of my, my hoo-ha. So I would say no. I'm not worried that because there's a little bit of carbon fiber, that there's going to be signal problems. I just don't believe that. And I base that evaluation on the fact that 8 other planes, same format, no problems. All right. That's where I base that response. However, he goes on to say, do you advise to get a satellite for the receiver? Look, this is a simple answer. The simple answer is, if you drop some coin, some honest coin on one of these models, and you can spend a little bit more for redundancy or fault tolerance, why wouldn't you? That'd be my answer. If you can pick up a satellite receiver for $30 and it will help preserve that airframe, that model, and, keep it flying. If you're concerned about things like attenuation, then yes, definitely do that. No question. Get a satellite. If a satellite can help separate your antennas and give you a better chance to maintain signal strength, then absolutely you should do that. Tolerance is a good thing when it comes to these planes, right? Especially when they start getting expensive. Last question out of the box. The BEC of the Hobby Wing should be sufficient. Do you recommend a separate power supply for the radio and servos? My answer to that is based on the testing that I know that occurred on these plug and play models and by who did the testing. I happen to know that Tim from Northwest RC banged on this equipment pretty freaking hard. I've seen some of the test videos. So I know that it happened, and I know that in having a live conversation with the man about the hardware, he said, yeah, our goal was to put good quality hardware in these kits so the pilot could get out there and fly right away. And I believe that. So with that said, I don't believe you need to have additional power. However, if you do use additional power, I would encourage you to look at my video on setting up redundant power on an RC plane system and follow that format, so that rather than just have one or the other, go ahead and do both if you want the redundancy. If you only want one, I don't see any reason to make it a separate device, because to me, that actually reduces reliability. Go look up math on MTBF if you want to know why. We've covered that before on the channel. Just go look it up. Okay, so Matt, great questions, honest questions. I like these types of questions because he's thinking ahead, and that's good. So good questions. I appreciate those. Rafael Pignataro says, hello, super useful content, but the calculator file seems to not exist anymore. Any way you can share it again? I wanted to bring this one up because it's been coming up recently. I don't know when or how, but on my rcvideoreviews.com website, they somehow blew up all of my shared files, but the website stayed intact. It wasn't me. Somehow my hosting provider did it. I've posted a lot of files over the years. I put them on my rcvideoreviews.com website. If you guys go look for a file that I say I share in a video and it's on my website, and you click on it, it doesn't work, please leave a comment just like this. I'll try and find the source file and repost it for you. So Raphael, thank you for letting me know. Immediately upon seeing this comment, I reposted the file and reminded him the link is valid again. And to my hosting company, thanks a lot. I appreciate the extra headache that you gave me on having to go repost things. So thanks for that, hosting company. Okay, next up. Oh, this question. Gray Wolf says, why would this work? So he's talking about a better throttle cutoff for using logical and sticky switches. He said, why would this work for one plane and not another? Because something about your configuration is different. 2 different planes with the same settings for throttle cut, just as you laid out, weird problem. I can assure you that the problem lies in something that you've done with your configuration, either on the plane or in your software. But the simple answer was software. Here's the deal. If you're a developer, you can keep me honest on this. Outside of bugs, let's exclude bugs, because bugs obviously are problems, right? But with things that are known to work, like for example, special functions have been known to work in EdgeTX forever. Logical switches have been known to work in EdgeTX forever. I use so many logical switches and special functions in my configurations, as do the developers that I know on EdgeTX, that if a logical switch or a special function didn't work the way it was supposed to work, it would be identified by now. So if you're pasting together a collection of logical switches and special functions, and something doesn't work, it's because you did something wrong. So it's not a question of the software. You guys have to start embracing that horror. And I know it can be frustrating. Don't get me wrong. I'm not criticizing Grey Wolf here. I know it can be very aggravating to try and find these things. I've looked at configurations before for hours trying to figure out what I did wrong, and eventually I figure it out. So all I can say is that when it comes to core functions on EdgeTX, like logical switches and special functions, I can say that the chances of you finding a bug are very slim. I'm not saying impossible. I'm saying they're very, very slim. So I would suggest that you go look at your configuration again, spend a little time with the basics, make sure you understand your outputs, make sure you understand what's supposed to be going on, what channels, make sure you're not mixing up icons, for example, and re-look at your configuration. If it still doesn't work, get on our Discord, share your screenshots with us, and somebody on Discord is going to be able to help you out. Okay. But the other thing that I'm going to say is that YouTube comments is a crap place to try and solve problems like this. It's crap. You're going to get frustrated. The person trying to help you solve your problem is going to be frustrated. Get on Discord. Okay. Get on Discord. We're in a much better position to help you out on Discord because we can do things like, say, turn a camera on. Let me see your configuration. Let me see your radio. Press this button, press that button. Okay, now we know what to do. You cannot do that on YouTube. So for the love of all that's holy, please get on Discord with these types of questions. It's a much, much better format. I promise you. Promise you, it's a much better format. Get on Discord. Okay? So these questions I'm not even going to try and answer on YouTube comments because it's a terrible place to do it. That's all there is to it. Okay. Next question comes from Para911. Paramedic 9111. Interesting. Thanks for your videos. You've created a video explaining how to copy models from Zorro to Boxer with Edge. No, I haven't, but I have done videos on how to use Companion to move models from one radio to another. And that's anytime I get the question of moving models from one type of radio to a different radio, my answer is always going to be the same. Use Companion. So get Companion, read your models and settings from your radio, save them to an ETX file, switch profiles to your new radio, open that ETX file, and then write your models and settings to your new radio. That's the way to do it. And the reason I suggest that, and I so firmly believe that, is because Companion can modify your configurations to be appropriate for the next radio. It'll make the work simple. And honestly, you just have to get used to using Companion. If you're not teaching yourself Companion, and I've got Companion videos out there, you're letting yourself down. I just can't stress enough. Learn to use Companion. If you need to move models from one to the next, do it with Companion. Use your existing radio, open the models and settings, save it to an ETX file, close the file, change your radio profile over to the new one, open your file back up. It'll say, hey, this isn't compatible. Do you want me to switch it over for you? You say yes, and then write your models and settings in new radio. That's how you do it. That's how I would do it. And if anybody has a better suggestion, I'd like to hear it, but that's how I would do it. All right. Next up from Don, he says, I purchased a TX16 Mark II S6R and this video has been priceless. I'll bookmark this for sure. Thanks for taking the time to make this video. I only shared this with you guys to let you know who my favorite commenter of the week is, and it's Don. Don, I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm here all week. Make sure you tip your tip your waiters and waitresses. They're treating you well. All right. Thanks, Don. Appreciate the comment. Yeah, definitely watch the videos. Check them out, man. A lot of help in those videos. Okay, OT Nola says, very useful videos you have. What I don't understand is why weight and expo on ailerons only affect one of the two servos. You remember the other question we got? Same thing. This is not a question of why weights and expos on ailerons only affect one of the two servos unless you're putting your weights and expos in a mix line and not your inputs. And I have a video that says stop. Weights and expos rates, in other words, belong in inputs, not mixers. Mixers can be used to adjust your throws to accommodate a mix. That's fine. That's what a mixer's for. But when it comes to weights and expos for a control, they belong in the inputs. And if you use the inputs, and don't forget, this is another one that bites people all the time. I'm going to bring this up on the big screen. I want to show this one to you. I want to show this one to you because it matters. I'm going to go into my mixer, and this is a production radio, and I want to show you guys these icons. You see these little icons right there? You got to pay attention to these. This is what bites people in the keister. I guarantee it. It's what bites people in the keister. Watch this. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hit add. I'm going to pick a channel, channel 6, and I'm going to call it my aileron. So they sit there and they say, okay, well, there's my aileron, and I've got my weight at 100% because that's what John's video said. Put your weights and expos in your inputs, and there we go. We're all set. So I'm going to move my stick back and forth, and I can see, okay, I got 100% movement on that control. There, it works perfect, just like John said it would. How about that? Now I'm going to go into low rates, and I'm going to move my stick, and what the hell? It's still 100%. This only works on one servo. Why is that? It's because the input, the rates are not applied to the stick. They're not applied. That's the stick. That source is the stick. It's not your input. Your input is this guy. We look for inputs up here and we choose aileron input. That's not the stick. Now, when I move my stick, you can see that I only go to 57%. Okay. That's the thing, man. This is where people get caught up. You got to pay attention to these little details. If I move my stick all the way over now, it's at 100. And if I move my rate down to my low rates, I'm down to 57. But if I use this as a stick, meaning the aileron stick itself, I can't tell you how many times I've answered this question, guys. There's 100% and I'm in low rates. So what the hell? Why are my rates only working on one? That's the problem. You have to pay attention to these little icons. They're meaningful. You guys have to understand the OpenTX and EdgeTX developers are thoughtful guys. If you see these little icons, pay attention. And by the way, you also got to learn to look for patterns. So when I look for patterns, I'm sitting here looking at the screen going, okay, I've got my mixer set up. I've got aileron, elevator. Here's an elevator. There's throttle. Okay, everything looks cool there. And here's my other aileron. Wait a minute. There's a break, right? That pattern does not apply. That aileron looks different than this aileron. What's the deal? It's because this aileron is using an input. That's that icon right there. That's using an input. And this one is using a stick. By the way, let's talk a little bit more about iconography. You might say, well, what the hell? Why is that the inputs? Why is that the inputs icon? Look right here. You see this top bar right here? See that icon, this icon, they match. So that tells you right now that is using an input. These are your inputs right here. If I click on that, we're on inputs. See? And notice that the inputs use the stick. Remember, I've explained inputs, mixes, and outputs 100 times probably in 10 different videos. The stick is the analog thing. That's the mechanical device, the analog to digital converter. So the stick, I shouldn't say that. That's going to piss people off too. You're basically converting the human motion to an electrical signal. Okay, let's leave it at that. So the stick, the stick is defined by icons that look like this one, and the inputs create a software structure that links the stick to the radio. So now I've defined an input called aileron that utilizes this stick, and I apply my rates to that input. Now, whenever I use that input from now on in my configuration, anything that is governed on this page by the switches that I've defined apply to this input. So that means on the mixer page, if I have an aileron input here and an aileron input here, I'm going to switch this over to ailerons. That means anything that I've done to this input will apply equally to this mix line and any other mix line utilizing that input, including low and high rates. Okay. This is one I know it just bites people in the keister all the time. So all I can tell you guys is that, listen, the software doesn't have a vote. It doesn't have a point of view. If you configure it correctly, it will work correctly. Now, I'm not saying it's bug free. There are certainly some things they work on, but I can tell you from the core functionality perspective, everything that I just showed you is applicable when you ask questions like, why does it only work on one servo and not the other? It's because you made a configuration error. That's what happened. Okay. All right, let's move on. And number 9, Gulami. I don't know if I got that right. Why did I not make the switch earlier? Your video is very dense, but no BS. Thank you for making a clear and concise guide. Worked right the first time. Thank you. Yeah. So again, nice comment. And the reason I brought this one in to talk about was that a lot of people look at Edge and say, or OpenTX and say, I don't know, man, that's complicated. It's complex. But I can tell you, it's not, you know, I don't work for NASA. I'm not a rocket scientist. Sure, I do kind of understand the way things work a lot, but the point of the matter is that if you just invest a little time, right? If you have to kind of suspend your understanding of radios if you're coming from a different ecosystem a little bit, and you have to invest yourself a little bit. There's no reason you can't do it on the bench and practice and learn on the bench and figure this stuff out. But the thing that comes out at the end is a massive reward in capability that you get with this operating or this firmware that you just don't get with other radios. That's it. And I honestly personally would stack EdgeTX up against any other firmware on the market. I just think it's the best. So that's why I posted this one. You see this out there, right? I see resistance, and it's fine. You know, it's your money, your hobby, do your thing. But if it's just a concern about learning, then just make the investment in time. You know, just pick it up and get the radio, work on it. You know, watch the videos, play around with stuff, get a receiver, bind it. You can't hurt anything, and just kind of work with it. And I promise you this, once the light clicks on and you go, oh, I get it. I know, I understand how this thing works now. That's it, man. You're rewarded with a ridiculously comprehensive and capable firmware for your radio. So that's my rationale for bringing this one into the conversation tonight. All right, number 10, Canadian RC Pilot says, my only concern with your one antenna placement is right next to the carbon fiber wing spars. You know, well, carbon fiber is the enemy of signal blocking chairs. So yeah, this is the same thing. And we talked about this one quite a bit tonight, and I'll just remind you guys again, carbon was not the problem here. And I do know that people have life experience with obstacles, and I respect that, but I also know that I had at least one antenna solidly in the clear, so that wasn't the problem. So all I would say on this point is when it comes to antenna placement, especially on an expensive airplane, just take the extra time and do your best to get it where it needs to be. You know, try and get that separation, try and aim for that 90 degrees, and that rewards you with a more stable outcome and experience while you're out there flying. So it is worth the effort if you have dual antennas, or if you have a single antenna, try to put that single antenna in its best possible scenario to win. And that brings us back up to number 1, which means we're done with Q&A. And that means I have to go back to the questions and the comments and see what's going on, because I think there might have been some comments in here. Let's see. Sometimes redundancy can be overkill. It can. And sometimes redundancy can actually add to the problem if you mess it up. If you have too many different things, you know, too many different knobs and dials to twist, it can create problems. So yeah, you got to be careful with redundancy. And you also have to understand if adding a redundant element actually improves or reduces MTBF. Just keep that in mind. Denny Roberts, on the multi-protocol module, what is the method to find the unknown protocol on some model? I don't really have one. Yeah, that's really a Google thing, Denny. If you don't know the protocol, you're going to have to get on Google and search for the device and see if you can sort it out that way. But there's not really like a procedure for MPM that I'm aware of that lets you maybe identify, you know, how to bind. I'm not sure about that. Andres Garcia says, can you use ER5 receiver, ELRS from Radio Master on a Precision Aerobotics Addiction XL? I actually answered that in comments, Andreas, and the answer is absolutely yes, you can. In fact, I'd recommend it. The one thing I'd be cautious about on an Addiction XL is make sure you understand your current draw, and you might want to consider a power distribution board. Just keep that, you know, just a thought. Depends on the current. There's a lot of debate out there, and I hate to speculate, but you know, some people feel like these receivers with the pins aren't really meant to go above, say, 5 or 8 amps. And in certain models, you might have servos that can pull 5 amps each. So just keep that in mind as you work your design. But as far as the radio protocol and technology goes, there's absolutely no reason to avoid using a ELRS receiver on an Addiction XL. In fact, I just put an Express LRS PWM receiver in a F-22 jet, and it will be flying my jet. Mr. Skyrider says, I can personally vouch for John here. He got me going on Discord. Yeah, you got to get on Discord, man. Discord, Robert posted the link on Discord. Get out there on Discord. Tell Don who made oh yeah, Robert, that's right. Robert, the S6R video, that's right. Robert said it would be a good idea, and he wasn't wrong, man. That video got a lot of hits. People do like that S6R video. So that's right, Robert. I remember. I don't forget. 4i says, needed to be said. Yeah, I appreciate you. Do you have a tattoo? I do have a tattoo. I do have a tattoo. There. I got some ink. There it is. Oh, can you guys see that? Oh, man. There it is. There's a tat. My aircrew wings. My tat. Yeah, I got some ink. All right. Let's see. I think that's it for the questions. We can move on. Good. I told you it was going to be a long night. Okay. Oof. 2100, man. We've been at this an hour and a half. I'm gonna need to guzzle some of my soft drink, my Coke Zero when this is over. I'm parched. Do you guys recommend the FMS MXS V2? I haven't flown that one yet. You know, RC Hero, I'm hoping, since I just picked up a sponsorship with FMS, that they continue sending me planes. I'd love to get my hands on that one. They have a lot of cool jets too. I like FMS planes. I know, you know, I don't want to get into the whole balsa versus foam thing, but you know, when it comes to foam planes, if you're in that category, I think FMS has some really good products. I've been very pleased with the overall quality of their foam planes. I can't even say that I disagree with their power. Like, I had the Pilatus PC-21 and I wish that had a little more oomph, but it wasn't terrible. Like, it did the job. You know, it wasn't a crazy wild 3D plane, but it did do the job. You know, it got up and down okay and did some maneuvers. So I like FMS stuff. Yeah, no doubt. Okay, in terms of coming up, wow, we're finally at the end of the video. It's been a long one tonight, huh? So obviously Joe Nall, that's the big one. And we're going to be, Freddie and I will be going to Joe Nall. Hopefully we'll meet up with Oliver. If you're at Joe Nall, or if you'd like to say hello, be on the lookout. I'll just remind you guys, we got the crew shirts. So John and Fred, we will both be wearing the crew shirts. So I'll just remind you, and I'll also remind you, check out the t-shirt store. I've got some cool shirts out there. I've got one of my favorites, and I need to order one. I haven't ordered one of these in a while. I need to order one. The last one I had, I wore out, but it said, I'm an RC pilot. It said, I'm an RC pilot. If I duck, you should run. And then I have another one that says, hey, y'all watch this. You know, it's fun stuff. So if you need some RC related apparel for the field, go check out the merch store. Anyway, Fred and I will be wearing RCVR shirts. If you're there, you know, be on the lookout. This will be on the back and then my name will be on the front. Feel free to come up and say hello. Love to say hello to you guys while we're out at an event like this. And I look forward to getting some good footage from that. I will be posting shorts like crazy. So, you know, hopefully you guys are okay with that. But if you're not, turn off your notifications because for the week, because once that, or I'd say for Friday, because I'm going to be posting a lot of shorts. Shorts get a lot of hits. They get a lot of subscribers. So we'll be doing that for sure. In addition to Joe Nall, the weekend after, I'll be out there trying to get the F-22 maiden done. I might try and squeak in a 3 martini lunch with Dave. Also, the nights are getting a little longer, so if I could cut out, you know, scoot out of work a little early, you know, I might see if we can maybe pull a weekday maiden on the F-22. It's a possibility, maybe. So be on the lookout for that. It's a discrete possibility if I can get Dave to come along. I need someone to film, so we'll see. Possibly. And then the other maiden, of course, is the FMS Flash. That one I expect to be a lot of fun. I know Fred's interested in flying that one, and you know, we'll get him hopefully buddy boxed and set up to fly that one as well. So be on the lookout for the FMS Flash video and the Joe Nall stuff, and eventually the M4 once I get the spares. So quite a bit. There's quite a bit on the way. Oh, I got to tell you guys, I just made an agreement with another sponsor for a new doodad, which might let me make some things for the channel. So I really don't want to spoil it, so I'm not going to give it away, but it's pretty cool. I've never had one before, and they approached me and asked me if I would like to review the product, and I looked at it and said, yeah, I definitely would like to review that. So that'll be on the way, And when that gets here, we're going to have some fun with that, boy. We'll have some neat capabilities when that shows up. So just be on the lookout. It's kind of expensive though. I'm not going to lie. It's like $1,700 retail, and that's on the way. So be on the lookout. It should be fun. All right. Let's see. FMS is pretty great all around for your money company. I agree, Robert. I've been very pleased with FMS products, and that was well before I was sponsored by them. So that PC-21 was a really, really nice plane. Flew great. Zeb says, what about the update of the MPM regarding newer FlySky receivers protocols? All I can say is when MPM produces an update, feel free to grab it, because so far I haven't really been disappointed. Regarding the newer FlySky receivers protocols, I'm not sure what you're asking about. If you're asking about AFH DS3, I don't believe those will be available in the MPM. I think they will only be available on the soon to be announced FlySky module. So hang tight for that. I already have the module. I've already been working with it. So we'll get that video when I'm allowed to release that one. But stand by for that. RC Hero says, I wish FMS had a version of the air tractor. Don't they? I thought they did. Don't they have an air tractor? I don't know. I've never really been overly interested in that plane, but would surprise me if they didn't already have one of those. Sounds like a certain 3D printer that has been making the rounds. No, it's not a 3D printer. It's not. I have a 3D printer. Although if somebody offered me a super expensive, nice 3D printer, I wouldn't say no to that, because I would definitely use it. I use my 3D printer all the time, but yeah, definitely would not say no to that. All right, guys, it has been one whopper of a session, man. 96 minutes for Pete's sake. We've gone on. Hey, quality on the live stream has been fantastic. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I unfortunately had to bump it down from 4K to 1080p, but it looks like the 1080p has been rock solid. I've had a great bit rate, no stuttering, no pauses, no issues. It's been solid. So I've been very happy with that. Sorry, it can't be 4K. That's just a limitation of my uplink speed. So it looks like we'll have to stick with 1080p until we see an improved uplink speed. When that happens, I'll try and switch back to 4K, but it seems like the quality problems, the stuttering, buffering, all that junk's over. So I'm happy about that. And that's that. Hope you guys enjoyed the live stream tonight. And I'll remind you, if you like this kind of material, don't forget about patreon.com. And just remember that all the money I make on Patreon, on YouTube, on Discord, wherever, on the t-shirts, the merch store, it all goes back into the channel. I buy stuff for the channel. I do testing, and then, we try and produce content for the channel with it. That's what it's for. The last thing I need is another airplane, just to be honest with you. I'm been blessed and I'm fortunate, but when I do this stuff, I do it for you guys. So if you're willing to help out, patreon.com/RC Video Reviews, a couple bucks a month, and you can help kick in. I want to say thanks to my existing patrons. You guys are very important to me, and I appreciate your efforts in opening your wallets and sharing your financial resources with me to help me bring content to the channel. I'm greatly appreciative of that. And with that said, I hope you all have a fantastic week. Have a fantastic weekend. Get yourself out there and fly something. Go fly something. I know I say that. This week I'm not going to be flying anything, but you make up for it and you go out there and fly something. That's all I've got for today. Take it easy.